Good morning, friends. Hope this finds you healthy, happy, and excited for a brand new week. It is upon us, and Monday is tomorrow, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I used to get really excited for the beginning of the week. It kind of drove people nuts, and I would often kind of talk about Monday being my favorite day of the week, and yeah, it made me kind of unpopular among coworkers. And then it stopped. I mean, it stopped for whatever reason. I probably allowed the world to get in the way and allowed life to kind of, take over, if you will. And it stopped being that way. I stopped being excited for Mondays. And then, here I am making these, and it's kind of back. And I'm happy to be excited. I'm happy to be giddy for tomorrow. I am. Anyways, I was at a loss about what I was going to share today, and for whatever reason, this last couple of days, I was lucky enough to kind of stumble on some ideas on Twitter specifically, but on social media, and that put me in mind of some pretty interesting little ideas to kind of chat about, and that left me in that video yesterday sharing some pretty intimate stuff, and I was very happy to do that. I was very happy to find myself in a place where I could share very personal and intimate details kind of about my journey and kind of where I've been, specifically boundaries being the video I'm talking about. I was able to connect with some of those intimate aspects of kind of where I find myself today. Obviously, growing up the way I did, the youngest of five, with my sisters, I was a lonely kid. I was a very lonely kid, and I had a couple of pretty good friendships, but being the bullshitter I was, always kind of fabricating stories and fabricating, grandiose exaggerations and stuff like that. I certainly wasn't the most popular. So the couple of friends I had probably were, about all I was ever going to find myself having. So to have a small circle today, it kind of comes with a little bit of a tinge of regret. I would love to have more intimate friendships, more intimate relationships with people, not just my family. I feel quite often that I tax them, that I put upon them, because I don't have those outside friendships, and I've endeavored to find them. As earlier as a couple of years ago, I should say, I was all kind of signed up and ready to get out into the world, and I was gonna do some local sports stuff, if you will, and then COVID happened, and all of the plans that myself and these people who were putting this league together had just kind of fell to the wayside, and it's never come again. So things like that, you kind of have plans, but then life gets in the way, and once again I find myself kind of very much I won't say a loner, but just kind of left to my own devices. Say that. So speaking about boundary, yesterday brought some of those things to the surface, and it was wonderful to be able to talk to the ether, if you will, about that. So, anyways, I digress. Today I wanted to talk about a very personal piece of scripture that has meant the world to me. Specifically, it's Romans 8. I don't want to get into a big preachy, Sunday morning sermon kind of a thing, but the piece of scripture that I'm discussing here, Romans 8, has just been a very personal motivator in my sobriety. It's inscribed on the back of a small gold token that I passed along to my oldest son. It was there to celebrate a very significant moment in my sobriety, and I eventually felt motivated to pass that on to my oldest boy, and he has it to this day. But toward the end of that piece of scripture, there's a very popular, well-known little phrase that's been paraphrased a number of times, and it basically reads, if God is for us, who can stand against us? And to that end, I wanted to share with you that for me, in my first year of sobriety, being as distant as I was from God, as distant as I was from organized religion and the faiths of the world, if you will, that power greater than me was the program. It was the people. It was those drunks and addicts, if you will, sitting around those tables, enjoying what I didn't have, enjoying sobriety, enjoying lives that worked, and functioning, healthy relationships with people outside. Going to open meetings, you would see these, people who you were sitting at closed tables with, all of a sudden bringing their wives and bringing their significant others and bringing their husbands, and you would go to, I did anyways, I went to, dances or functions, Halloween get-togethers and things like that the various groups would kind of hold and put on, and you would see families and children coming together, and I couldn't wrap my head around that initially. I just couldn't get my head there. Like, how could these people have these healthy, happy, functioning families when my father, 10 years sober, that certainly wasn't the result that we had. 10 years in sobriety and my family didn't function very well at all. So, how could that be? It became the group. It became these people. This is what I began to believe in. This is what I began to put my faith in. This is where my power, greater than myself, that thing that I looked to have faith in, showed me at every meeting, at every get-together, in every open talk, in every closed table. It showed me what was possible for me. And eventually I found that. Eventually that became a very deep and personal relationship. And as I moved to explore my faith, and I moved to explore the history of faith and how we as people come to faith and the various faiths that we come to, I became very intimately connected with my power greater than myself. My personal relationship with God, as I understand God, is everything that motivates me today. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It's what follows me back into bed at night. It's what finds me here in front of this MacBook Pro and this ring light and this Logitech camera with a mouse in my hand, sharing these thoughts into the ether. For whatever reason, here I find myself, because that power greater than myself motivates me to do this, in lieu of friendships, in lieu of a lacrosse league, in lieu of anything other, anything else that I might be doing, those things that I have endeavored to do. In lieu of it all, here I find myself, because that power greater than myself has motivated me to be here. So, again, I say, if God is for us, who could be against us? Certainly, in those lowest moments, in those darkest times, when we find ourselves just beaten down and with nowhere to turn, I go back to that group of people and their familiar faces in my mind's eye, and I remember the joy that they had and the joy that they happily shared with me. And I remind myself, if that power is there for us, if those people await us in these rooms, in these dusty church basements, in these community centers all over the world, if they're waiting for us to help us, to lift us up, if that's what awaits us and that's what's for us, who could possibly stand against us? It's an empowering thought for me that I wanted to share with you, and I hope that on some level it connects a few dots. So with that in mind, I'm going to hit the stop button. I'm going to look forward to tomorrow, and I'm going to say thank you so much, guys. I love you. I am cheering you on. Have a great day, guys.